So Trump's trade war just cost the United States something they cannot get back. And no, this isn't about tariffs. This is bigger. This is the moment America first ate its own tail.
Here's what happened. For months, Washington's been squeezing Canada. Tariffs, threats, that whole 51st state BS. The bet was simple. Apply enough pressure and Canada folds. Well, that was the theory. Instead, and this is the part that the U.S. is still trying to process, Canada walked. Not from the negotiating table, but from the entire American defense ecosystem.
How, you ask? Well, Canada just made the biggest defense announcement in our country's history. On Friday, CBC confirmed Canada is exploring a mixed fighter fleet, 72 to 88 F-35s from Lockheed Martin and 72 Gripens from Sweden's Saab. That's 140 plus fighter jets and 9,000 Canadian jobs. In the United States, they just lost billions. But here's why this story is so much bigger than a procurement decision.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, the Pentagon tried to punish Canada. Elbridge Colby, Trump's Undersecretary of Defense, suspended the Permanent Joint Board of Defense, the oldest continuous military alliance between any two countries on the planet. 86 years. This had been going since Roosevelt. And Colby killed it with a memo because Canada had the audacity to review its F-35 purchase instead of just blindly signing for all 88 jets.
So, what did Canada do? Well, 9 days later, we went to Sweden. $5 billion global eye deal. Boeing shut out entirely. Then, on June 3rd, La Presse reports we're looking at 60 Gripens plus cutting the F-35 order by 2/3. And today, 140 aircraft, mixed fleet, the largest defense industrial project in Canadian history. Lockheed Martin and Boeing are watching billions walk right out the door. The PJBD is frozen, and the United States just proved to every ally watching that its military partnerships are bargaining chips.
You know, I'm reading these numbers and I keep thinking, this doesn't happen. Countries our size don't walk away from the F-35 program and build a mixed fleet with Sweden. That's just not usually a thing, except it just happened.
Yep. Basically, the Pentagon's punishment backfired. Spectacularly, I might add. And Friday's announcement makes it official. So let's walk through the whole thing so we all understand.
Okay, it all started on May 18th. Elbridge Colby announces the Defense Board is suspended. The reason? Canada has failed to make credible progress on its defense commitments.
But we've already paid for 16 F-35s. Down payments on 14 more. That's 30 jets. Hey, we hit NATO's 2% GDP target and we're on track for 4%. So what part of that is not credible?
The part where we didn't commit to all 88 from Lockheed Martin without asking questions. That's what. Mark Carney announced a review of the F-35 purchase after Trump started threatening annexation. The Pentagon's response to that review, not to the outcome, but the review itself, was to freeze an 86-year alliance.
So basically you're telling me the logic is if you don't buy all of our jets, we'll kill the institution that's kept our country safe together since before Pearl Harbor. Now, I'm not sure Trump thought this through. Well, I know he didn't. Thinking's not his strong suit. He was probably napping during the meeting on this one. He's good at that.
I feel like the timeline, and I really do, the timeline we're living in is satirical. May 18th, they had a freeze on the defense board. May 27th, 9 days later, Carney walks into CANSEC, the security conference in Ottawa, and announces negotiations with Saab for the Global Eye, a $5 billion plus deal.
Yeah.
$0 to Boeing, $0 to LH Harris, and the Global Eye uses a Bombardier Global 6500 as its platform. Built in Canada, Canadian supply chain, Canadian workers. Now that's not just a deal, that is a signal.
Yeah, and Saab's position has been consistent throughout all of this. We'll build the Gripens here in Canada. Same factories, same workers, 9,000 jobs. They're not asking Canada to commit to a black box ecosystem controlled by Stockholm. They're offering production lines on Canadian soil.
Yep, and as the timeline continues, on June 3rd, La Presse reports Canada is exploring 60 Gripens plus cutting the F-35 order to 30 jets. On June 6th, CBC confirms the fleet could hit 140 aircraft. F-35 and Gripens, mixed fleet. That timeline tells you everything.
Yeah, now can I go back to something, because May 21st, 3 days after the freeze happened, before any of these whole Swedish deals or anything were made public, CBC Radio Canada ran an analysis titled Dr. Strangelove Diplomacy, How the Pentagon's Symbolic Defense Board Freeze with Canada Could Backfire. Listen, journalists saw it coming. The Pentagon didn't. And in 19 days, we went from a frozen board to a 140 jet mixed fleet with Sweden. That is pretty crazy.
Well, that's what you get when a reality star is running the Pentagon and the national defense. Weird. So let's talk about why a mixed fleet matters, beyond the jobs and the price tag, that is. When you buy an F-35, you don't just buy a jet, you buy into an ecosystem. American software, American controlled maintenance, American supply chains, American managed upgrades. The United States can restrict your access to any part of that ecosystem at any time. Software updates? Too bad. Spare parts? They can wait. Operational data? Out the window.
And they did it to Turkey. There's proof right there. They threatened others. And it's the same administration that froze an 86-year defense alliance over a purchase review also controls your fighter fleet software backbone. Well, then what happens the next time they're unhappy or they don't like what you're doing?
They call it the red card. It's not a physical switch, it's dependency. And if you're Canada and you're watching the Pentagon freeze military cooperation because you reviewed a purchase order, why would you put your entire Air Force at the mercy of that? Am I being too dramatic? No way.
Now, that's what makes this decision so significant. Canada isn't canceling the F-35 here. We're still looking at 72 to 88 of them. But a mixed fleet with Gripens means that Canada has options. And that is a real timeline that's happening a lot in the last 2 years with Prime Minister Carney. Options. So the next time an American undersecretary decides to play hardball,
we're not trapped anymore. And that's the whole thing. 72 Gripens in production lines in Canada. Saab on our soil. 9,000 jobs. That is industrial sovereignty.
So let's total it all up, because it really comes to a ton of money that the U.S. is losing. Lockheed Martin, the F-35 deal was supposed to be 88 jets, projected between $14 and $19 billion over the program's life. Cut to 30 jets, roughly 2/3 gone, out the window.
So Boeing already lost. The global eye beat the wedge tail, and that was $5 billion.
The defense board itself is frozen. Trump killed an 86-year alliance for nothing because Canada didn't cave. He's afraid.
And here's what I find absurd. The Defense Board survived World War II, the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, 9/11, Afghanistan, and every moment of tension between our countries for 86 years. It died because Elbridge Colby wanted us to buy 58 more jets that were taking forever, by the way, and are way over budget and time, and he's upset that we wanted to ask more questions. That's it. That's what killed it.
Listen, you could only freeze someone out once. You could only kill an 86-year alliance once. And now that it's done, now that Canada knows that the United States will use military cooperation as a bargaining chip, why the hell will we ever put ourselves in that position again?
And that's the real loss. Not the billions, the trust.
In 19 days, the Pentagon tried to bully Canada into a purchase. Canada responded by going to Sweden, cutting the F-35 order by 2/3 for Gripens, and locking in the largest defense project in Canadian history. This makes it official. Trump thought the threat of exclusion would make Canada desperate, but the exact opposite happened.
It's been a pattern for 18 months. We just keep winning. Now Canada is getting a bigger Air Force, a mixed fleet, and leverage we didn't have before. We have 9,000 more jobs and a partnership with Sweden that doesn't come with a kill switch controlled by the Pentagon. The punishment backfired spectacularly.
Yep. So we want to know what you think about this. Mixed fleet or single platform?
And if you found this helpful, subscribe for more if you aren't already. Share it with your friends, give it a hype, give it a like, and check out the links in the pinned comment for more information.
Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Ciao for now.